I was driving along in the car one day just thinking about the Lord, and He spoke to me. This is what He said. He said, I've given my people a secret weapon called prayer. But prayer is not just voicing your worries. Prayer is supposed to be the substitution and the replacement for your worries. The substitution for our anxiety. He said if a person finds themselves worrying after they've prayed, then what they did in the first place was not called praying, it was called worrying out loud. Have you ever done that before? Found yourselves just voicing your concerns to God? I'm sure we all have. And on one hand, I'm sure God can handle those words, but we should not mistake it for the prayer of faith, or the prayer that gets results, or for the prayer that is full of confidence that actually causes miracles to happen in our life. We have to realize that faith depends on us, not just, kind of expressing all of our sufferings and afflictions. Prayer has to do, or faith has to do with us learning God's will and expressing that will properly and expecting God to do what He said He would do. So knowing the will of God is essential in getting a prayer answered, and it has very little to do with us just expressing all of our difficulties. So, some people will hear that and say, well, didn't Jesus say that all we need is a little bitty tiny bit of faith, like a mustard seed, and then we can get our prayer answered? And it's not really what Jesus said. Here's actually what He said. He said, if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you might say to this sycamore tree, be thou plucked up by the root and be planted in the sea, and it should obey you. Notice what Jesus said. He said, if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you'd plant it. That's the first thing. If you have faith, you'll do something with it. The miracle is inside the seed. And so if you have a mustard seed, it's very tiny, but there's a miracle in it, which never comes to pass until that seed is planted in the ground. So that's the first thing, is that if you have faith, Jesus said, you'll say something. If you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you might say something. It has nothing to do with you having a tiny bit of faith to go with your huge bucket of unbelief and get something to happen. It doesn't work that way. Another scripture says, if you have faith and doubt not. So how much doubt is allowed in getting a prayer answered? 0. You can't have any doubt. So 100% faith is the requirement for God to be able to step in and actually do something in the earth for a person who's asking. The other thing you notice, He did liken faith to a tiny seed. The mustard seed is the smallest seed of all the earth. And what that really refers to is the fact that faith seems insignificant. If you take a seed, it seems insignificant that seed could actually produce a harvest of fruit and all sorts of miracle wonders of the natural world. It seems insignificant, but it's got a miracle in it. Same thing with faith. It may seem insignificant for you to say something. It may seem insignificant that your belief can actually move the mountain, but it can if we do it. So realize that if we're going to have true faith, we're going to have to say something. We're going to have to speak to problems. We're going to have to command things to happen in the earth. We're also going to have to confess the truth and say it to ourselves. Confess the will of God. Express the will of God in the earth for it to come to pass and do miracles in our lives. That's it for today. God bless you. See you next time.